thing was that we had no idea what this show was going to be about. We knew it was going to be...
Dill, you're completely frozen. I can't hear you or see you. You're stuck in one position. Does this mean we have to start over?
Welcome, everybody, to Marvel-ous Movie Mondays. Happy Monday, Kelsey. How are you?
I'm great, Dill. I'm so excited to talk about Loki.
I know. It's been a while since we've had like a show, something new to talk about. Because the past 5 weeks, we've been talking about X-Men. We went through the whole X-Men franchise. The week before that, we did a Marvel bracket for May Madness. Because we didn't do March Madness because of WandaVision. And before that was Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But like that feels like forever ago at this point. Even though it really wasn't. But now we are here to talk about Loki, which is so exciting. If you're listening to us on audio, thank you so much. You guys, we've seen our growth of the podcast, and you guys have really helped with that. Maybe it was the X-Men stuff. Maybe they just dug that. You really helped us grow there. Help us grow a little bit more on YouTube because the viewership's a little lower, but it doesn't matter. We're, one viewer is enough for us. If we can make one person's day talking about Marvel stuff, that's all that matters. And
it's my mom. That's our one view.
And it's your... yes, Kathy, thank you for listening and watching. We appreciate you. All right, Kels, let's get into our news of the week. Of course, every time we start the show, we start with Marvel news. If there is some, which there always is. I mean, it's Marvel. They pop out news like dog pops out poop. That was a bad analogy. Anyway, Kelsey, why don't you tell us about your news first?
I was like double checking that I was looking at the right thing in my notes, and then I just hear like in the background you say poop, and I'm like, oh, so that's the foot we're starting off with this podcast. Okay. Yeah. So I found out that there's another confirmed cast member for She-Hulk.
For She-Hulk? Cool.
Yes. It is Jamila Jamil.
Okay.
I think that's how you pronounce her name. I'm so sorry if I got it wrong. She's well known if you've ever watched The Good Place. I know that she's in that show.
I have not seen that.
I have not seen it either, and people tell me time and time again that I have to watch it. So
I haven't seen it, but from what I have seen of it or heard of it, I think it's a very Kelsey show. So
yeah, that's what people have been telling me. So I think I just gotta bite the bullet and watch it for Pete's sake. So her character is, I'm also going to butcher this name as well.
Great.
Titania.
Oh, that sounds pretty good. Yeah.
Wait, really? That sounds like legit.
I don't know, but Titania sounds normal. Is it just titanium with an A?
No, it's Titan with an IA. Titania.
Titania or Titania? Yeah. No, I
Titania?
think Titania. I think you might be right. If someone let us know in the comments on YouTube, let us know in the comments. Is Titania? Is that it? And before I go any further, if I do freeze or my video goes crazy, blame Loki, not me. It's not my Wi-Fi. It's Loki's fault.
God of mischief.
So speaking of mischief, keep going. Yes, you have more to say.
I was just going to say that I only read a little bit about it because I want to be, surprised when we're watching She-Hulk. But her character seems to be like she's going to be the antagonist because her character and the main girl whose name I'm forgetting at this time.
I think is it Tatiana Maslany who's playing She-Hulk?
Yes.
I think so.
So her character and
we don't know her name. Okay,
and
gotcha.
Jamila Jamil's character are rivals in the comics, so she might be a little bit of an antagonist. So that's all I have to say about that.
Interesting. We'll get into antagonists in just a little bit, but I do have news.
Yeah.
So what if this podcast didn't exist? Ooh, what if? I don't know. What if the show? What if it has a reported premiere date? We have a date set. And that is August 6th. So we are getting more Marvel this summer. So in addition to Shang-Chi and Black Widow and Loki, we will also have What If to talk about every week on the podcast, of course, which it looks like just such a cool premise. We haven't talked about it much on here because it hasn't been confirmed yet when it's starting, but it looks really, really cool. Apparently, it's the last reported stuff that Chadwick Boseman also did before he passed, which is going to be interesting because he voiced his character, of course. But I heard it's really interesting. Like the trailer showed like Peggy Carter, what would have happened if she became Captain America, like all this different stuff, which is like so interesting. Just basically saying, you know what, you didn't get this version of the story, but we're going to give it to you anyway. Like so many people complain about, how Star Wars ended, and some people complain about, stuff with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, like all this stuff that they claim is just like fan fiction. Well, it's like, well, now you're having your side of the story too, because we're going to just rewrite history, and it'll be animated. It looks really cool. So August 6th is reported as the premiere for that. And I think those are going to be probably shorter episodes than we're used to, which will be nice to podcast about too. Any thoughts on What If?
I'm excited. I'm excited to dive into the world of all the what ifs, Yeah. I think it's going to be cool.
Definitely. So now let's get into what you guys really came here for. I mean, all the news is great, but you guys don't want to hear about the news right now. That's your meat and potatoes. Let's get to dessert, and let's get to Loki episode 1. Kelsey, I mean, if for anyone who doesn't know, the TV episodes are a lot of fun. We go kind of scene by scene. It's not like a whole movie. We have only an hour, so we can go scene by scene, go through the episode, talk about things we like, didn't like, performances, all that jazz. And then at the end, we will talk, of course, about Easter eggs and theories. But Kelsey, why don't you give us your great old synopsis, the Kelsey Kilpatrick few sentence magic, if you will.
Oh, thank you so much. My chaos magic over here. Okay, so Loki, episode 1, titled Glorious Purpose. Here's my synopsis. After a 2012 Loki uses the Tesseract to escape from the Avengers, he is taken by the TVA, aka the Time Variant Authority, and introduced to Mobius, who believes Loki could be quite useful to them.
Wow. That was a great recap.
Wow, thank you. That was a great Owen Wilson.
Thank you. I will probably be doing it at least 5 more times on the stream, maybe 10.
Yeah,
maybe
it's
15,
it's
20.
expected.
Yeah. So first off, love how ambiguous the synopsis was, because this show's marketing was very ambiguous. It did not give away too much. Gave the very basic premise of what we were getting, which I liked. I'm very happy we only get the bare bones of what we're going to get, and then as episodes will go on, we'll start to unravel all this stuff. What were your initial thoughts, just the whole episode as a whole?
I mean, after my first watch through, I kind of was like, that was a lot of exposition. Like, I feel like I wish he jumped into something more in this first hour, because it was an hour, it wasn't like WandaVision that like our first few episodes were like 20 minutes each. It was a whole hour of just setting up what we're doing here.
And the interesting thing about WandaVision is that we didn't get the exposition until like episode 4. Exactly. It was the first 3 episodes, and then they explained what was going on. So I think this is interesting, because this is kind of not following the formula in terms of like the actual storytelling. Like, it's very much a very in-depth, heady concept. It's very high concept, but in terms of like actual structure of how the show is formulated, I think this is very much more like Falcon and Winter Soldier, where it's like, here's your exposition, here's what we're going to get through with the rest of these episodes, and then we'll get into them with the second one. And I think that's almost where you have to have the debate of, do we prefer to have all these episodes dropped at once, like the Netflix shows like Stranger Things have been, or do we like to have this week-by-week thing? Because when you have a week-by-week thing, this does seem very just exposition, and that's all it is. And I think that's just one of the downfalls of the week-by-week release schedule. But I do still like the week release schedule better, because we have a week to digest it, and it's not just all of it all at once. We do get to sit with it. But I agree, it was very exposition heavy.
No, I agree with you, Dill. I think I like the week by week releases just because it's more like fun that way. You're left with some suspense, some anticipation, But at the same time, what I didn't like about this episode, and this is like really the only thing that I like didn't love, was the fact that he kind of spent the whole episode trying to like break out of the TVA, right? But it's like, we know that he's not going to do that. So I feel like we could have spent like maybe the first half of him trying to, break out of here, not accepting that he's like a part of whatever this is now. And then the second half, all right, I guess I'm stuck here. Let's like put me where you need me, kind of thing. Because like it's like, if there was a chance of us maybe not knowing if he, does decide to work with them or not, kind of thing, maybe, okay, spend an hour of him, going back and forth, trying to escape, betraying people, doing his good old Loki shenanigans. But we know he stays. So I just didn't think we needed a whole hour of it.
Honestly, when I thought the show was about was him like jumping around place to place. So I think it's interesting that it's like, no, you're staying with us. You're gonna do what like it's our mission. Like the objective of the show is not gonna be Loki just popping around place to place. It's gonna be the TVA trying to get this other what seems like a variant of Loki, and Loki's
Mm-hmm.
gonna kind of be like the guy to help them do that. And I like that how it's like just grounded in this. Like this is gonna be what the plot is. And it was definitely a surprise to me because now it's like it was always interesting watching the show, trying to figure out how they were going to make the villain the main character. Because as we've seen with so many other things, sometimes when they try to
Mm-hmm.
make the villain the main character, they almost humanize them too much. Where it's like, no, but they're a villain. We got to like learn to. We got to give a reason to hate them. That's one of the criticisms I haven't seen it yet, but about Cruella that I've heard is like you try to like this character too much when we know we shouldn't like them. But I do
Mm.
think because we've seen Loki's whole journey, I think that helps. Now we can kind of go back and have him kind of have this whole progress and character arc all over again. But we
Mm-hmm.
do know that we've seen him redeemed almost, where it's easier to then root for him even as a villain and antagonist. So I do like that, just the whole idea itself.
Well, I've never really thought of Loki as a villain. I've kind of
Okay.
always thought of him as an anti-hero. I don't know if that's inaccurate to think of him
Mm-hmm.
that way because, he's always kind of gone back and forth,
Yeah.
especially in the Thor movies. Like there's always been these moments where he, even if he does end up betraying Thor at the end, like he's there, we see him second guess or
Mm-hmm.
think like, maybe I shouldn't do this. Like he is my brother. We
Mm-hmm.
see like very small glimpses of him, of human moments from Loki,
Yeah.
even though
I
he's technically a frost giant, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the first Thor he's very much like that anti-hero, like he's the opposition to Thor, but there is a bigger villain.
Mhm.
And I think the other Thor movies, especially, he's more and more of a hero. For me, it's Avengers itself, like the Avengers,
Sure.
where I think he's very much a villain. And I think that's where he gets that villain status from because he very clearly is doing evil things.
Mhm.
So that's kind of why I do consider him more of a villain because if you take that movie away, I do agree. I think he's more of an anti-hero in the way Nebula is. He's someone
Mm.
who's misunderstood more than he's actually antagonistic, and I do think this episode does dive into that too. And it's almost like if we didn't have those other movies, how can we get a villain immediately have a 180 in one episode? I think this one did a really good job of doing that, of like trying to get this version of Loki kind of close to the version we know and love now, but not fully changed 100%, but at least enough to like be able to say, oh wait, I don't like killing, like I don't like being a bad person. It's just
Mhm.
I'm mischievous. I'm supposed to be almost like I'm the god of mischief. Like this is almost kind of like in my prophecy in a
Mhm.
way. But anyway, let's get into the actual breakdown of the show itself. I'm assuming where you have scene by scene breakdowns.
Oh boy, you know I do, Dill. My
Great.
notebook is filled to the brim here with
And let
stuff.
me preface before we get into it. I did kind of back off on too much Easter egg hunting just because
Okay.
this one seems just so twisty and turny. And I think the thing that ruined WandaVision, it didn't ruin WandaVision for us, but one of the worst parts of WandaVision was us just fixated on this idea of Mephisto. And first
Sure.
off, I know a lot of people are going to say, it's him. We're not bringing him up. He's not in this. The creator confirmed he is not in this.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to mention his name again, but a lot of that was talk about that, and I don't want to have any sort of theory. I want to just kind of experience it and be surprised. So I did very little research on actual Easter eggs, but I did find one little thing that at the end, if we haven't talked about, I'll point out. Uh, Otherwise, I went in a little blind this time on my rewatch, which was kind of refreshing, not really knowing what's coming. But I'm sure Kelsey also has a few things that she's gathered along the way. So
Sure.
Kelsey, take us away.
I really only have a few Easter eggs, but let's start
Yeah.
at the very beginning. A very good place to start. Okay, so that's a little musical theater reference for you.
Yep.
Okay, so we start with a cold open before our Marvel credits, and it's basically just recapping, reminding us the events that followed, that took place in Endgame, how Loki got the Tesseract, how he
Mm-hmm.
disappeared. I did notice there were a few reshots that they did specifically for Loki.
I saw that too.
So there's a medium shot of him as Cap, which is not in the end game cut. So I was wondering if they maybe had Chris Evans for like a day, literally, to
Maybe.
do his, Loki's impression of Cap,
Mhm.
to get that extra shot, or if it's just movie magic and they were able to make something happen.
Or
There,
archival footage maybe that they had of the first Avengers movie. It's
yeah,
been a while since
maybe.
I've seen it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, because I was literally after when I did my rewatch, I dove in deep. So I watched the opening credits of Loki, but then I also watched the Endgame scene back to back just so I could
Yeah.
look for all the differences.
Uh-huh.
It was kind of like when you have two pictures and you have to figure out like which one's what's different.
Right.
There's a great shot of him waving. There's a medium shot of him waving in the elevator to Hulk when they tell Hulk to take the stairs. And he actually does that in Endgame. He really does wave to him, and they just, brought it in closer for us to see it, for the viewers.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool and creative. And then as the credits roll, we hear, so then obviously like the scene unfolds. We finally get our Marvel logo. That's green and gold for
I
Loki's
love the logo.
signature
I
colors.
loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it.
And then as that's happening, we actually can hear a very distant Thor call, "Where's Loki? Loki!"
Oh, cool. I didn't even pick up on that.
No, yeah, I watched it with my beats
Wow.
in, so that's how I heard it. I was like,
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
God, these little details I'm eating up, I love it. So scene 1, we see where Loki ended up upon taking the Tesseract after he was, sucked through a void, which was, he ends up in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. And it's very reminiscent of, he kind of crash lands into this desert, and it's very reminiscent of Iron Man 1 when Tony crash lands in the Middle East after escaping the cave. I had to write down, we're assuming that this is the year 2012 and all of it is taking place in the year 2012.
I think the actual, it's interesting because I think because we're dealing with time, I don't think there's any sort of like date or year once you've gone into the realm of time. I think it's just this is what it is. Like I really don't know. That's a good question because it's 2012, and then when he crosses through to the other dimension, like who knows what time it is because almost just went to a different year and he just bouncing around time. I really don't think we're gonna have any grasp on like exactly when we are in this timeline, except for when they actually do bounce to a specific time period with specific characters. I that's a good question. I never thought. Huh.
I would like to know where we are, but I guess, Owen Wilson does say time moves differently in the TVA. So once he was taken from the desert to the TVA, who knows how many years passed or minutes or hours,
Who knows?
So he tries to take over a village. He's almost doing the exact verbatim speech that he has in the first Avengers when he's talking about, I'm Loki of Asgard and I'm burdened with glorious purpose. Drops the title of our episode there. And before he could get too far in his speech, the TVA show up. He says, it's been a very long day. So that makes me think that the Battle of New York and everything like just happened. I don't think any time passed from him taking the Tesseract and landing in this desert. I just wanted to confirm that for myself. And basically the main general, I'm calling her the general or the captain of the, what do I call her later? I call her something else too, because I don't know her name, but she basically like punches him or gets him with like the powerful sticks, the batons that all the cops, I guess, are of the TVA are wielding, gets him, and it totally puts Loki in slow motion. And
I love that shot too of his cheeks,
his mouth like moving. Yeah. And she says, reset the timeline. They put a canister down in the dirt, and it just has this fog floating around in it, and then it turns purple, and we don't see what happens. Loki does, because we zoom in on his face, and he's quite surprised and shocked at what happens after they put this canister down, but we don't get to see what happens. So stay tuned to find out what that canister does,
if we even find out. I mean, that's the thing. I'm interested to see exactly how many questions will arise and how many answers we'll actually get, but who knows.
Scene 2 at the TVA. So we meet this guy, we go to a front desk, and automatically there's another guy, another variant who's being taken into the TVA to be on trial, same as Loki. And I'm just wondering, like, this guy seems seemingly very normal. So I'm wondering what he had to do to, like, mess with time. Like, how did he disrupt time, you know? Like, how did he end up where he is?
I don't know. I guess because also we'll talk a little bit later about when they find the Infinity Stones that have just been kind of like thrown in a drawer.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm interested. Like maybe like just some people like we saw with Deadpool too. You know, Peter, just a normal guy. You know, what if a normal guy just came across an Infinity Stone and was like, "Oh, what's this?" and then took it and some shit happened. Like that might be kind of what they're going for, just like
Maybe
just mistakes that people have made. Because Loki's is obviously purposeful. He took that Tesseract and dipped.
Right.
But maybe they're just it's in case a normal person should come across like an Infinity Stone or something else that could throw off the timeline, kind of like Muggles in Harry Potter. It's like, oh wait, you did something and you were not supposed to be in all this shit. So we're just gonna reset the timeline and
obliviate you.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Look at that. I roped in Deadpool and Harry Potter all in one. So that'd be a team up.
So then the Tesseract gets handed off to our lovely front desk man, who I already love. She says, log this for evidence. And basically, Loki just has to go through all of these tests and this process before he goes to trial, goes to the courtroom. So a robot strips him of his clothes. He gets put into a jumpsuit. He gets shot down into a room where he has to confirm everything he's ever said.
I love that bit.
He has to confirm that he's not a robot. And then I wrote this down because it came back later in the episode, so I'm glad I wrote it down. I figured it would be important. The man who he like steps through what seems like a metal detector, and a man takes a photo of him, but it's not a regular photo. It's like a heat signature kind of, you know, what like ghost hunters use to like scan the area to see if they see figures, you know, stuff like that. And Loki says, what is that? And he says, your temporal aura. And Loki goes, what is that? And then we never get an answer. We just move right on in. So then we're in this like line where he has to take a ticket. The one guy says, what is this, a deli? No. And then he just goes right up. Obviously, we find out later that not taking a ticket was not ideal. And he gets kind of, it reminded me of like the melt stick that the Grandmaster has in Thor Ragnarok, when he just like touches them with his like staff, and then he just like melts.
It reminded me a little bit of in Ant-Man too, when he just shoots them and then they shrink or explode or whatever.
And turn into like the goo.
Yeah, that kind of reminded me of that as well.
Just
like really interesting, just different way to send off characters.
Get rid of people, I guess. So then we get the most exposition and the most answers in this lice. This lice. I was going to say this nice animated short narrated by the clock herself, Miss Minutes.
Before we continue,
please.
I don't know if you saw my tweet. I love Miss Minutes. She is my favorite part of the show. I don't even know why, because she's this little clock. And I love the whole animated sequence. It felt fresh. Like I love when things feel fresh. It was the same thing as the WandaVision opening sometimes. Like just mixing different mediums in this bigger medium of what we consider like the average MCU style. Just like having those different moments. And I love that little animated thing. I hope she's in it more. Because I was like, almost like, what happens if like we see Loki interacting with Miss Minutes and she's still animated. I thought of all these cool possibilities. I don't know if that'll ever happen. Kind of like a Looney Tunes type thing where like it's humans and then Roger Rabbit humans and animation. Anyway, love Miss Minutes. Tara Strong, voice actor, she's amazing. She voiced some very iconic characters, including Dill Pickles in Rugrats. So.
That was my fun fact, Dill.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you want to name the rest of them? Because I have a lot of them on
That
my
was the only one I wrote down because it was special.
Because it's me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kelsey. Well, she's also Ben 10 and Ben 10. She's also...
I was about to say, boy, Dill, do I have a fun fact for you.
She's also Timmy Turner.
I wrote it down in my diary.
I'm so sorry. Well, you know, I'm just obsessed with Miss Minutes. So sorry. I'm gonna buy the Halloween costume. I'm gonna go all out. Like Miss Minutes is my spirit animal. I love it.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm sorry, Kelsey. So I hope you have more fun facts. I think you might. We'll see.
I mean, I don't for this episode.
Well, no, you have some fun. You said you had pictures prompt.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. They're not really facts. It's more like a theory, but we'll get there when we get there.
But it's still fun, and they're fun theories. Fun theories. They're better than fun facts. They're fun theories.
It'll still be fun. So anyway, Miss Minutes takes us through why basically the TVA even exists. So basically what happened is that way back in like before time, I don't know how long ago it was, but there were multiple branches of multiverses, and they were all fighting each other for dominance. These mythical beings, the timekeepers, came along and decided that they were going to only have one timeline going because everything was going to be destroyed and ruined forever and ever. So they get one timeline going called the sacred timeline. Excuse me. And that whenever a variant, everyone is on this one sacred timeline, but then every now and then someone branches off and they create what's called a nexus event. And this is a branch of time that Miss Minutes herself says branch off into madness. Multiverse of madness, dare I say?
We're going full circle because also we remember the famous finger. That was the one outcome that Doctor Strange saw in his vision. I think the one outcome he sees is this timeline. I think this is the explanation for there only being this one continuous thing. Like, I think he saw all the different timelines. So maybe Doctor Strange also saw this timeline where Loki goes off and does his own thing too. Maybe this is all from the eyes of Doctor Strange himself. Who knows? I mean, this is groundbreaking. This exceeds all boundaries. You know,
Dill.
It's trippy. It's a mind fuck for sure.
You just blew my mind. So then basically the TVA come in when one of those branches and Nexus event happens. They take the variant and it's unclear what happens. It feels like most of the time you can just be put back in your original timeline. But I wasn't quite sure because Miss Minutes herself said once, there's no place, like once you branch off, there's no place back for you in the sacred timeline. Right. So I'm like, so once you fuck with time, there's no place for you back in your original timeline. And then after Miss Minutes' animation movie here, the Loki credits roll. And then we see Loki's name in many fonts.
Mm-hmm.
Very fun stuff. Scene 3. We're in 1549 in France. We finally meet Owen Wilson's character. He seems to be investigating a crime scene. We see a bunch of dead TVA agents. They're saying things like it looks like the knife. It looks like it's the same knife as all the other attacks. It looks like they never know what hit them. And then a kid runs into the chapel. I referred to this small child as a girl the entire time I was taking notes. Read an article, turned out to be a boy.
Really? Oh, I thought it was a little girl too, but hey. I was gonna say there's also been we'll talk about it at the end with Easter egg stuff, but there's a lot of conversation about gender in the show, which we'll get to in a little bit.
Yes, we will. So then a kid runs into the chapel, and Owen Wilson goes up to her, or Mobius. I'm going to stop calling him Owen Wilson because that's too much.
You can call him whatever you want, man.
Lightning McQueen. Should I prefer him?
Good job.
So Mobius goes up to her.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. Did you texted me the other day that you watched Cars? Was it your first time?
No.
Oh, okay. But you just happened
to
I
was just, was surfing Disney Plus, looking for a nice animated movie to fall asleep to. And I was like, I haven't watched Cars in a minute. I'll watch that.
I was going to say nice in a minute. We'll see. And some people like it.
Because I sent you that Snapchat about how Cars is racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain again, or do you want to get into it another time?
Sure, I'll tell you. So Cars is racist. We're having a little sidebar here because
it's fine. Hey, it's Owen Wilson. It counts. It fits.
Because, well, I'll tell you the really bad example was the fact that I don't remember their names, but when Lightning McQueen gets to Radiator Springs, there's a yellow car and a blue car that run the tire shop. I know the yellow car's name is Luigi, I think. And they're clearly from Italy. They have Italian accents. They talk about Ferraris all the time. They talk about, whatever race happens in Italy with cars. I don't know. But then they start speaking like very fast Italian to Lightning McQueen, and he says like, "Oh, no speako, like no comprendo."
I think it's Guido.
Guido is the blue guy?
I think so. Maybe not.
Guido and Luigi?
I don't know. Keep going.
Well, anyway, he speaks this very like broken, racist Spanish. He's like speaking this broken Spanish to these cars that are speaking Italian. And then I think it's very stereotypical and prejudiced that they have the one car that runs the paint shop have a Mexican name and a Mexican accent. I said, that's not nice. That's unkind. And we should do better, Pixar.
Yeah, just wait till Cars 2. Because they're in like Japan too, so it's even worse.
Oh no, then I can't watch Cars 2 because then I'll have more ranting to do, and I don't need that.
Anyway,
on my
I mean, if you like Cars, you like Cars. I've never liked the movies. Cars 1 and 3 are okay, but Cars 2. Sorry, it's the bane of my existence. So honestly, I do think Owen Wilson himself has gotten a bad rep from me because of that. Maybe like I've liked him at times, but he's never been the like whenever he's in something, he's never my favorite part of it. Like the Meet the Fockers movies, like he's always been the person I'm like, whatever, like. But now I'm finally a little bit more on the Owen Wilson train, or Red Car, if you will. Like I'm more on the gotcha. But this show I think could make me an Owen Wilson believer. So we'll see.
Oh, I thought I had a sneeze coming.
Anyway, we've been off on the wrong track or road, if you will, for a little while. So let's get back on the timeline, shall we?
So he goes up to this young Owen Wilson. Mobius goes up to this young boy. He asks, "Who did this?" And the young boy just points over to this.
Oh no, it is young boy.
Is it a boy or a girl?
No. It was a girl, and now it's a boy.
No. It's a girl because I was wrong. It's a boy. I'm just gonna say kid. The kid points to the devil stained glass on the wall. It's just any regular devil. Actually, it's probably Loki from what we find out later in the episode.
Yeah, they're scared of it. It's probably a version of Loki, or it is Loki, or it's the symbol of Loki himself, because we're used to seeing him with the horns too. Like he has the devilish appearance.
So then we see this strange blue goo in her mouth, and Mobius is like, "Oh, what she got there?" And she has this kablooey like gum or candies, and he says like, "Oh, like a gift from the devil, or fruits from the devil, or something like that." So then we have to leave because one of the TVA agents tells him the branch is nearing the red line. So that means whoever did this, it's nearing a red line. I don't know what that means. I don't know if like existence just stops after the red line. I don't know what happens when a branch gets to that red line, but boy, do I want to know.
Oh, I think we will too.
So then,
hopefully.
Yeah, I agree. Then Mobius gets a call. He gets Loki's file that says that he's been apprehended, and he's very intrigued, being that not knowing when we were watching it, but knowing what we know now, why he would be intrigued with Loki's file. And we see something very interesting on Loki's file. It says under sex that he's actually gender fluid.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just I think a lot of people are either like very much like, oh my god, yes, like LGBT, and then some people are like, what are you, not in my Marvel? But I don't think you really necessarily have to be on either end. I think it's just kind of saying that he can take up many forms. He doesn't have one way of existing, and I think we'll get into that, especially at the end of the episode when there's like, different versions of Loki and variants of Loki, and then we see the picture of the devil. Like, I do think it just means that he does take many different forms because he's the god of mischief. He's mischievous. He takes on many forms, male, female, other, anything. He's fluid. And I don't think there's a reason to be like super upset about it, which some people are. But
yeah, no, not at all. I mean, this is like comic lore too. Like Odin refers to him as his daughter and his son, like interchangeably.
Yeah.
And Loki's always kind of been like ambiguous. I feel like before this was confirmed, I feel like it was also confirmed that he was either like asexual or pansexual, something along those lines, like earlier on. Yeah. He's always been like an ambiguous guy.
Because here's the thing. it doesn't really matter. Like it's not like Loki's never gonna have that romantic storyline. He's never gonna have like, and we're never gonna see his characters naked either. So who cares what their fucking private parts look like? Like the one time we saw him naked, it was all covered. It was him in the elevator. So who cares? Like it's one of those things where it's like, cool. I'm cool with that. Cool.
And might I say, Tom Hiddleston looked great. It looks like he's been working out for this project.
So they're doing something right there.
Anyway, moving on.
Congratulations.
Scene 4, the courtroom. So we meet the judge, where she asks Loki, "How do you plead?" And he says, "Gods don't plead." And she's asking, well, are you guilty or not guilty? Like, what's the thing? And he's like, okay, well, the only people that are guilty of like messing with time are the Avengers. And he says this, and I'm like, the first time I watched it, I was like, how the fuck does he know what the Avengers did? Like, there's no way, like, from, the case moving on the ground and him like looking just like back and forth, like whatever, he figured out the entire time heist. Whatever.
We do find out. Yeah, we do find out how he knows. Does he say it here or later?
No, he says it here. He says, because I didn't even catch this line at my first watch through. I caught this the second time around because I had the subtitles on and everything. He said that he smelt the cologne of 2 Tony Starks. Yeah. And obviously, like, we got not only a reference to the cologne in Endgame as well, when Scott Lang said, "Is that Axe body spray?" So it was very clever of them to think of that. Or
planting the seeds early, so now it's like, oh, okay. So there was a reason why we had that line about Axe body spray, and it wasn't just product placement.
Wow.
Got it.
Wow.
Wow. 6 wows, I've said 7.
Okay, so then he tries to use his powers to get out of the courtroom. He figures out that he absolutely cannot do that. And then he is sentenced to be reset, which I'm assuming is death. Because then Mobius steps in and says, hey, I think I could actually like use his help. So let's keep him alive. So then we cut to scene 5, which is Loki and Mobius in this theater where they're just watching Loki's greatest hits on a projector.
That's what I wrote down in my notes too. It's like Loki's greatest hits.
No, yeah, literally.
Because I mean, like, for the odd chance someone is watching this having seen nothing else in the universe, which like why? But, like, there might be someone who's just like, oh, I like Taylor Swift. She dated Tom Hiddleston once. Let me watch it. But that's the only way I could think of anyone just going on Disney Plus and putting it, or they're like looking for like a different movie and they hit Loki by accident. Like, I don't really think anyone would be watching this anyway, but it's still a good way to recap for those who even have watched it to really get a sense, because no one really goes back and watches Thor: The Dark World as their first like rewatch. Like, they never just be like, I'm just gonna throw on Thor: The Dark World. They put on something better. But like, that's a very key moment in Loki's life, in Thor's life. That Frigga death is a big plot point, and like for us to see it again and see all these different moments, I think is important. And we get another Coulson shot, which is great.
Yep. Yeah. All these nice little throwbacks. And this is the scene when Mobius starts asking him all these like hard-hitting questions. Do you like hurting people? Do you like causing death and destruction? Like, what is your purpose? What is the goal for what you want to be doing here? And Loki kind of has to, like, he's forced to, like, look at himself and reevaluate his life.
Yeah, and this is why I like Morbius's character too, because it's not just like this, oh, we need him, okay, I'm gonna be his best friend. Like, it's not a buddy cop movie yet. It might be soon, but it's like very much like, no, like, I still don't like you. Like, what's your deal, dude? Like, I'm still gonna judge you, but we need you. It's more of like, I need you more than I actually want to be around you. And there's no sense that they're like buddy right away, which I like. He almost kind of challenges him and is almost his opponent, not like completely, but there's a little bit of a tiff there at first, which I like, because we're gonna obviously see this relationship grow, hopefully.
No, yeah. And I think, and Mobius has this really great line where he says, I don't understand why someone with so much range would just want to be king. So it's almost like he's kind of like almost impressed with Loki, in awe of him, because like he's a smart dude. He's very intelligent, and we've seen it in the films time and time again. We even get a to look into aspects of Loki's life that we haven't seen in the films under what I'm calling the Great Escape. So we cut to a scene watching Loki in an airplane. He hands a stewardess a note and says, "Oh, you might want to look at that note. I have a bomb." He gets a bag of money. He jumps out of the plane. We see that Heimdall opens up the bridge and he's, taken back into Asgard. And Moby says, "I can't believe you were DB Cooper." For those of you who don't know,
enlighten us, please.
Please, I will enlighten you, because as soon as I saw this, I was so excited because I'm a huge fan of like unsolved cases. I know a lot of people don't love the platform or the website or whatever, but I love BuzzFeed Unsolved. Shane Madej and Ryan Bergar are I think are like the two funniest guys ever. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you should check it out. If you love unsolved cases and you like funny people talking about them, it would be a great thing for you to watch. So, DB Cooper, here's the story. On November 24th, 1971, a guy going by the name Dan Cooper boarded a Northwest airline flight from Portland to Seattle. He ordered a bourbon and soda, just as Loki did in the clip, and he handed the stewardess a note and said, "Miss, you better look at that note. I have a bomb." So then the plane landed. They asked him, "What do you want?" He asked for $200 cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck to be on standby when the plane landed. And
200 is that a lot for that time?
For 1971?
Probably. Okay.
I'd have to Google it.
It's interesting because I was
probably
200.
Maybe.
Aim a little higher, dude. Anyway, continue.
I don't know. Maybe he just needed the right amount. Maybe he's trying to pay something off and he just needed 200 grand. I don't know. And he also requested that the $200 only come in $20 bills. He was very specific with how he wanted his money. So then he wanted to be flown to Mexico City. Not even halfway through. It was sometime between when they left for Seattle, and somewhere in between Seattle and Reno, Nevada was when he jumped out of the plane. Before jumping out of the plane, he put on the iconic black sunglasses. If you've ever seen that drawing of him, and the black sunglasses that Loki wore. Yeah. And they nail everything about the actual unsolved case. I thought that this was very funny. It made me think of when they tied in JFK's assassination to the X-Men movies. Yes. Like tying in real life events to the Avengers, which I thought was really cool. And I even, upon rewatching the scene again and reminding myself about all of like the specifics of the actual unsolved case, they do have the bag of money. Oh my god, the bag of money that they hand Loki in the show is actually only filled with $20 bills, as the real Dan Cooper requested, which I thought was wow. Yeah. Attention to detail, baby.
That's good. So is this like a myth, or this actually happened? Like,
no, this actually happened. Just no one knows.
They just don't know where he is.
So here's the unsolved part: is that he jumped out of the plane and he was just never seen again. They found the bag of money, like in a nearby river, like somewhere. But they never like found his. Right? They never. No, it was still in there. It was like relatively full, I'd say.
Oh, so he probably died then.
So they searched for his body. They never found his body. They never heard from him again. So that's the unsolved aspect. Well,
DB Cooper, his name is, right?
Yeah. So DB Cooper kind of like came about through like, I don't know, like hearsay almost. The real guy's name was like Dan Cooper, but I guess DB Cooper sounds more mysterious, more catchy.
Dan DB, whatever. I'm assuming you watch this. Please, in the comments below, please let us know where you are. Or even if you don't want to let us know where you are, let us know if you have Disney Plus and if you enjoyed this episode, if they did an accurate job portraying you. We'd love to know. We'd love to have you not on the show. We don't want to allow you access to our lives, but we'd love to have you at least in the comments section. That'd be great. Thank you.
Imagine that's how we solve the case. This is like... I can't do math right now, but imagine our podcast brings out the guy who was Dan Cooper.
What year was it? 72?
1971.
Yeah, so 50 years ago, exactly. Like, that's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I guess I could have done that math.
No, but it's funny. Like, hey, if you're there, if you're listening, please let us know.
We're talking to you, DB. Okay.
Looking at you.
The only thing that was different compared to the real case versus what they did with Loki was that he actually jumped out when it was like pouring rain. It was nighttime. It was windy. Like it was bad conditions for jumping out of an airplane, which is why most people think that he most likely died, because it was like very low visibility. His parachute would have just been whipped through the wind. Like it would not have been good. Not the best night to go skydiving.
You said Heimdall like brought him back up. Does that mean that it was like just something that him and Thor decided to do? Like,
yeah. So then he says,
thing, you know?
he said he was young and he lost a bet to Thor because he asked Mobius like, "Hey, where were you when we were just like fucking around on Midgar and like causing unsolved cases? Like, how come the TVA didn't step in then?" He was like, "Well, you didn't really mess with time." So, like, he was like, "We were there. We were just in the shadows," and I was just like. That's interesting.
I wonder if this is like a one-off little moment type thing, or if they're actually going to kind of go into like,
there's going to be like more.
Where's DB Cooper?
Yeah.
Or if he just is, you know, like that's interesting. I wonder how many other that could be like a fun Marvel series. Just play around, like see what other shit Loki did. I hope maybe every episode has something like that. Like
every episode is just like solving an unsolved case because it was Loki.
Oh, what's the name? Our friend Patrick was telling me about it. The Bobby, the little kid, Bobby something.
Bobby Dunbar?
Bobby Dunbar, yes. Patrick, if you're listening, Bobby Dunbar. I did watch that BuzzFeed Unsolved because he did tell me about that because he wants to write a musical about it. So I think
really,
yeah, but maybe Loki was also Bobby Dunbar. Who knows?
Yeah, no, yeah. There's some really, really interesting, crazy, like sometimes like really upsetting cases that they talk about. Yeah. I love it. I'm addicted.
Because the thing is, he didn't cause any harm to anyone. He just took the money and left. So I mean, it's really, if there's an unsolved mystery to like, you know, that's not depressing and like about kids dying and disappearing, like that's a pretty good one to be like, oh yeah, Loki was the guy. Funny.
Yeah.
You know, like it'd be different if they were like, yeah, no, this is the child who went missing. It was Loki. Like no, no.
Yeah, no.
Not getting that deep in our MCU right now.
So then the general interrupts and Loki escapes. He gets the time twister, the remote control that's been like sending him back and forth and resetting him basically. He finally gets from Mobius and he's able to escape. So then he appears in a hallway where he sees Casey pushing a cart. His name is Casey, as we find out later. But the guy from the front desk is pushing a cart where Loki can only assume he's going to the evidence room, so where he can get the Tesseract. He threatens Casey. He says, "Give me the Tesseract or I'll gut you like a fish." And Casey has no idea what a fish is. So that just like tells you a little bit about what life is like living in the TVA. You don't know what things outside the TVA are. I guess you only know time and variance and authority, and those three things exclusively in that order. And then upon looking in Casey's drawer for the Tesseract, this is obviously the moment where we just find a butt ton of Infinity Stones. And this is really the moment where you kind of see Loki just like, oh my God, like maybe these people like are like really like the most powerful beings in the universe, that they can just like control all these people, collect all this stuff. Like, because the entire like first half of this episode, he's really like not taking, like he's not handling the fact that he's not been in control of his life this entire time. You know, I feel like that would be hard for anyone to accept,
he's
but Loki especially. Yeah. You know, he's a man who's always been in charge of his own destiny, or at least he thought he has. And like, he's always been about taking matters into his own hands, doing what was right for him and himself only. And now he finds out that he's always been on one guided path. It's like, you know, it's daunting for him to learn and hear.
For sure. And I love that moment because it's like this whole series has been so much about like how crucial and important these Infinity Stones are. And like you live and die by these Infinity Stones. But I like how they're like, you know what, we're in phase 4 now. That was the first 3 phases. We loved it, but like let's like move on now. Like let's do our own thing. Like these Infinity Stones in this universe doesn't really matter. They're just paperweights. And I love that because it's like it's almost like Last Jedi when take off your headphones if you're planning on watching it. I'll wave you back. When
Okay,
Luke,
wait, let me like turn down the volume too.
yeah, when Luke just throws the lightsaber over his shoulder.
I can't hear you, so you're
okay,
good.
Great. Well, I'm saying it anyway. When Luke just throws a lightsaber over his shoulder, and like so many people are pissed off about it, but it's like no, like this is the story we're telling. We're not, we're not going to tell. We're not going to cater to what you all have like imagined in your head this whole universe to be like. This phase 4 is going to get experimental. It's not going to be all about what we think should happen or what is like been happening at all 3 phases. They're trying to break the mold, and I think headphones on, Kelsey. Kelsey, headphones on. Yeah, and I think this is also a great way of just breaking the mold and be like, you don't know what to expect with this new phase, and especially this show in particular. Like, it's not all about the Infinity Stones. We're done with that chapter. We're moving on to a new chapter, and I like it. So
I will say, Dill, that I studied this drawer. I was trying desperately at my brightness all the way up on my laptop. I was trying desperately to like see what else was in this drawer. I couldn't see much, but I did take note of the fact that there are clearly a lot of time stones. There's a lot of reality stones. There's a few soul stones. There's space stones. There's power stones. I didn't see one mind stone in that whole drawer. And I don't know if that's on purpose or if I'm just reading into something, but I didn't see any yellow stones. So
maybe that's because I'm wondering if that's because, Vision is the only one out there with it. And like, there's only one Vision. There's not, I don't know. That's a dumb excuse. I'm wondering if it just maybe like, if they're all there, why hasn't anyone tried to like snap away anything else, But I don't think I don't think the powers exist beyond this dimension. Like, I don't think they hold their power in this universe. Like, I think paperweights because they hold no value.
Right, exactly. Because he says that he tries to use the Tesseract and he can't.
Yeah. It's like if you go to a small European village where they take like cash only and you have a dollar bill, that's going to mean nothing. Like go to an ATM and there aren't any. Like, it's kind of the same thing. It's like these hold no value in this dimension or universe. So.
I just don't know if it's purposeful that they left out the Mind Stone, but we'll see. Yeah. So then he says, with tears in his eyes, "Is this the greatest power in the universe?" And I loved it. I love that line because the best part about Loki is that he's always been a character that just goes where the power is. If the Avengers were really like the universe's mightiest heroes, not just the Earth's mightiest heroes, but like the most powerful beings across the galaxy, he would be on their team. He discovers that, no, it's Thanos. Thanos is the most powerful being. Okay, so he partners up with him for a period of time. He just goes where the power is, where he is most likely to come on top or be, a leader. That's always been Loki's gameplay. So the fact that they are like so powerful that they control these people, collect all this stuff, you see it click in his brain like, oh my God, I'm about to be like the most powerful motherfucker in this joint right now.
Cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going, like if he was crying because he realized that like everything he had ever hoped for or loved, like or wanted to strive to become, there was always something bigger and it didn't really matter in retrospect, or if it was the idea of, oh, now I can become that powerful. Because for me, for some reason, I took it as like, oh, is this the most powerful thing? Like, so what I've been doing my whole life is basically worthless type of thing. But it's interesting to see the way we interpret it. Yeah,
I think it's a combination of both. I think he's like, oh my God, everything that I've worked my whole life for means nothing, but now I found something way better anyway.
True.
So I really think
it's like the first time you're eating ice cream and then you have some soda and some accidentally spills in, you're like, oh, this goes well together. And then you're like, oh wait, no, root beer floats are a thing. Like, it's not a new thing. Like, that's
okay. Sure, I love
the
root beer float analogy.
But now that it's a thing, now I'm gonna make the best tasting one. So yeah,
right.
I think that's a good. I try to bring my dad analogies, like my dad joke analogies and weird words of wisdom to it. So
I know, Dill. I know you do. So then, scene 7, he watches the rest of his life. He's back in the theater because he's
greatest hits.
Coming to terms, and he's not only watching his past and everything that he's lived, he's now seeing into the future. So obviously, he's watching his relationship with Thor and Thor Ragnarok. He watches himself die in Infinity War. The general /guard/captain comes back. He overpowers her. sends her away with the time twister. And then he's back with Mobius, where they just have a full-on therapy session. Because the entire thing that he mocks the TVA for being, he says, I forget, I was going to write down this speech, but it was a lot, so I didn't. But he says this whole speech to Mobius about how he's like, you're just breeding, it's the weak breeding fear to control power. It's this illusion that, you're something bigger than you actually are. When Loki, holds the mirror up to himself and realizes, no, that's what I've been doing this whole time. I'm the illusion that is striking fear from the weak to, enable my power. And Mobius is like, wow, I've had a breakthrough. We've had a breakthrough. And then he finally tells him, well, listen, this is what I needed your help for this whole time, is because the rogue variant that is killing all of our agents is you. And he just says, I beg your pardon? What? To which I also said, what? So then we cut to this final, like, almost epilogue-y end credit scene moment of scene A in Oklahoma, 1858, where they find this object, which I don't know if you noticed this still, but I think it was a shovel, but there was a circular, like, symbol in the middle of the shovel, and that's the symbol that Loki uses to spell his name in, like, the title sequence. So we know that, it has to be tied to Loki some way, somehow. They're like, they kind of brush it off as someone who just came back in time to, like, get rich quick from, like, the oil that's in the area at the time. To which I said, why don't they care more about people just jumping through time to get rich? I feel like that's the whole reason why the TVA exists, is to stop people from doing that, and they don't really care. But anyway, I guess we're going to find out more about the TVA as we come and go. But then we see a hooded figure in the distance drop this lantern, I guess, into the field of oil. It burns up all the agents, and just before the main guy who's there can get the canister that resets the area, he's obviously snatched by whoever this hooded figure is, and the hooded figure is able to get the canister that does whatever it does. And that's, like, the whole episode.
You did a good job. Yeah, good job, Kelsey. I'll give you a little round of applause there.
Thank you.
I really don't. It's hard because this episode is so much of that. Like, I said it earlier, like meat and potatoes, like, your vegetables. You're eating your vegetables before you get to your dessert. Like, having to just kind of the tough stuff. It's the big, the hardiness that we do need before we get into all this stuff. I wish we got 2 episodes, or I wish we got, like, this was half of an episode, because it is so expositionary. And even that conversation between Morbius is his name? No, not Morbius. Morbius is the vampire from Spider-Man, whatever.
Okay.
Mobius, he's getting his own movie in next year, I think it is. Anyway, we'll cover it because it's Marvel. It's a different ownership. It's not Disney Marvel, but we'll talk about Morbius. But Mobius, when he's talking to Loki, like, that scene does take a while, but you need that because they're trying to get Loki, this version of Loki, at least somewhat redeemed, or at least a little less, like, harsh by the end of it. So then we can dive forward as him as this kind of anti-hero, more hero than villain. And that's what I did like. I liked having him have those, reflective moments and self-reflective moments, and really breaking down and really analyzing what he's been doing with his life. I feel like if this came after Avengers came out, it wouldn't have as much of an impact. But like I said, because we've seen his whole journey, now it just feels more rich and more textured, and just everything feels just so much more impactful because of it. So I was a fan of what they did with this episode. I really was. Do we want to get into some theories?
I wrote down some Easter eggs.
Okay. First off, who do we think this last
the hooded figure
Loki is? Do you think it is just another version of him? Do we think because of this fluid stuff? I heard a lot of people saying it might be a female Loki, like
Lady
Loki. We're getting a female Thor. Do you have any theories? Is it the devil type Loki that we saw? Is it, because on the poster there are 2 Lokis? I don't know if you noticed, but there are 2 Lokis on the poster. Is this one, like, is this an evil Loki? What do you think?
I'm kind of leaning towards Lady Loki. I don't know. I feel like one of the cast members was confirmed to be her at some point, like
Oh, cool.
before
I didn't
it
even
came
realize.
out. I don't know. I really could be making that up out of my butt, but I don't know. I feel like that'd be cool because then it'd
That would
be
be
like
cool.
I don't know, this nice like power dynamic
Yeah.
to
Who knows? So yeah, we're steering clear right now of some deep cut Easter eggs. But I mean, obviously the DB Cooper is pretty cool, and I'm sure you have more stuff to say. So Kelsey, give us a few more like Easter eggs, theories, whatever you have.
Well, I just have like little things. There was a
Yeah.
scroll at the front desk. I don't
Yes,
know
there
if you
was.
noticed.
Yeah.
The one guy who couldn't ask him to confirm like everything he's ever said had a pet cat.
Hmm.
And obviously that made me think, oh my god, Goose.
Goose.
Flargan.
It's not, but
It's not,
different shade of
but
fur.
then I also noted, well, I know it's not Goose, but I thought that maybe because like now I don't trust cats in the MCU, so I'm
Have
like,
you ever trusted cats anywhere though?
no, that's very true. That
I
is
was
a
gonna
very
say,
good point.
knowing you've
I've
never
never
trusted
trusted a
cats
cat a day in
anywhere.
my life,
Right.
and not a
It's
day in
weird
my
too
life.
because like Lauren has a cat. Like you love cats.
They don't like me. Anyone's cats don't like me. Like we understand.
It's
We
fine.
have an understanding that we don't understand each
I
other.
don't relate to it, but I get it. Like I get that idea of just not being able to connect to something. I get it. I mean, it's me and well, I'm not gonna name the MCU movie because I don't want people to get all like, oh, how do you not like that movie? But it's like me and one of the MCU movies. I'm just like, I just don't vibe with it. But
Okay, sure.
my hot take. We'll save for another day.
All right. And he also had a mug on his desk that had a picture of the cat on his desk,
cute.
which I thought was a cool detail to
Nice.
include. When Loki first escapes out of the theater, and before he makes his way to the evidence room, a lot of people notice that a TVA agent came through one of the portals with a woman, and a lot of people thought that this woman might look like Peggy Carter. I think it's a
do it one
stretch.
more time. I don't know. I mean, you let us. So if you're listening on audio on YouTube, we do have the picture pulled up and zoomed in. I saw this and I went, whoa. Because here's my thing. I'm trying to stay off Twitter as much as possible because I don't want anyone to come with their M-word theories or like they did for WandaVision. I'm just like I was so over that to where I was like trying so hard to like enjoy WandaVision despite all the theories, and I did. I loved WandaVision, but I don't want that same thing to happen here. I want to go in completely open-minded with very few confirmations of theories and more just theories that I'm making, not that the comics are making for me because of what's already existed. So like this I did notice though because I was like, okay. And then I looked on Twitter just to see if anyone was talking about it, and they were this idea that it could be Peggy Carter. But here's the thing. It's very in the background. I feel like if it was Peggy, if it really was Peggy, they were gonna like make it more of a scene thing. Even if there's not a Peggy Carter plot line in this show, if they were just trying to be like, oh, there's also another Peggy Carter out there, like just haha, wink wink, I feel like they would have made it more front and center. That's just my theory. But
yeah, no, I agree with you, Dill. I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's
that was
fun.
my big thing I noticed. That and then the gender fluid thing is what I noticed. And then I went on Twitter, and both those things people were talking about a lot. The gender fluid thing in a weird way, like they were very mad about it. But this one, they were like, "It's gonna be Peggy, and she's gonna fall in love with Loki." I'm like, oh, relax.
What?
And that's why I was like, I'm getting off Twitter. I'm getting off Twitter.
Yeah,
that's
stay
not
off
gonna
Twitter.
happen. Those were the two things I came away with, and then also that Miss Minutes is on Twitter. She has her own Twitter account too. That's also what I noticed. But otherwise, I stayed off Twitter. So any other theories and stuff, I have no idea about. So please take it away.
And then I tried to look into the kablooey gum candy thing that the kid was eating at the church. And the only thing that I could, that people were kind of theorizing is that there was a face that was kind of like the logo for this candy. And they said that it kind of looks like a frost giant. So it might, and because it like turns your mouth blue, it could be referencing like, Loki's true blue form as a frost giant. That's what people were thinking. This is what I really wanted to talk to you about today, Dill.
This is your big theory.
Because we started a new stream, I don't have it ready, but I will get it right now.
Prep it with some preface it with a little bit of banter
So,
while we get it ready.
When we first started talking about the time keepers in Miss Minute's little montage about, the multiverse and things like that, I immediately thought of this scene that happens in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Just I'm vamping.
It's okay. It's okay.
Once I saw the look of them, and there were 3 of them, I immediately thought of this scene. And I have the picture ready to share for Dill. So if you're on audio,
okay.
it made me think of these 3 beings talking to Stan Lee.
Oh my God.
And if you're familiar, okay, so this scene is in the Guardians of the Galaxy twice, Volume 2 twice. So we see them super quickly as Rocket, what's his name, Kraglin and Yondu are like jumping through the space to get to Ego's planet. We see them very quickly as Stan Lee says something along the lines of like, before it's really interrupted, let me get back into my story. So in case you're not convinced that these 3 beings have anything to do with being timekeepers or anything, I do have 2 pictures. I should have put them like face to face more, I feel. Or like, hold on. I don't know how to get like the other one up. So I'm just, oh no.
Just exit out of that one. Oh, okay. Well, there it is.
Okay, wait.
That's a good
so
point,
now
they are 3. Get it ready, and I'll just talk a little. Like the 3-headed, like they laid the 3 hooded figures. Like I love. They all the hood. It feels very reminiscent of what we've kind of seen the timekeepers, kind of like those statues, what they kind of look like.
Yeah.
You have the next one ready?
No, because something happened, so I don't know. But the only thing is that I just like zoomed in on their faces and the faces of the timekeepers in the animation to show you how similarly that they looked. Cool. So, and then in the post-credit scene of Guardians of the Galaxy, we hear Stan Lee saying, "And that time I was a Federal Express man," obviously referring to one of his many cameos in I think he's the FedEx guy in Civil War.
Iron Man 3? Or no, yes. Is that Tony Stank?
I think, yeah.
I think it is Civil War, maybe.
So I think it's Captain America Civil War. So I'm like, why else would he be talking, and who else would he be talking to about all these different time and cameos he's made throughout the movies other than the timekeepers?
Wow.
Now, I looked into when I Googled like pictures for this post-credit scene that I looked into. It apparently James Gunn just like wrote like that line in because he got the idea from fans. So I don't know how credible this is or how much sense this makes. But basically, I think that those 3 beings might be like the timekeepers or something.
I am like 100% in on that. Like I am 100% buying it.
Like, I could be so wrong, but I don't know.
I don't even think they need to even address it. I think it's just one of those things where it's like, they probably thought we're never going to get to the timekeepers. Like, let's just throw them in here. And then when they eventually got to it, now it's just going to be like, oh, that's like the design of it. Like, I really don't think when they had that cameo, I think it was just kind of a fun way to poke at the fact that Stan Lee is self-aware of all his cameos.
Yeah.
And that it is kind of the same person, just in different timelines and different places at the same time. And he never ages. Like, but now it makes sense.
Right?
It makes sense.
And it was
he's the same age as he is in Captain Marvel, as he is in Captain America First Avenger, as he is in Civil War, as he is in Endgame, all that. So is he in Endgame?
As soon as
he might be.
No, I think his last one was Captain Marvel.
Gotcha. But either way,
I don't know, he's
the same age, and those are all taking place at different times. So
as soon as I saw the animated timekeepers, I immediately thought of those 3. So I don't know if I'm just crazy or if that's purposeful.
No, that's called being very, very knowledgeable about these movies and being able to call back something that no one else thought of.
Okay,
is anyone else thinking about it? I mean, have you been on Twitter, or is anyone else thinking about it?
I don't know. I've been afraid because, like, I don't.
Right, you don't want to spoil anything.
I want it to be like, my special thing that I thought of, like, on myself.
It's your special thing, and if anyone's listening to us before they're watching any other videos, let's say Kelsey was the first to think of it because you were. I mean, you thought of it, so.
Thank you.
That just blew my mind. Even though it doesn't really have much relevance, like it's just kind of for a fun cameo, but like that's probably those are the timekeepers. That's where they are. Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Wow.
But yeah, that's like all I had to say, really, Dill.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I had too.
Oh, wait, but I feel like while we're on the topic of Peggy Carter, a lot of people are stressing about the fact that Steve was able to go back in time and live in another either multiverse or timeline or something with Peggy Carter.
Yeah.
So what I'm just telling myself to like make this make sense is basically like the timekeepers always planned on Steve doing that, and that he was always supposed to go back in time to like be with Peggy, and that he actually didn't create a branch. He's still in the sacred timeline.
Well, yeah, because he returned everything to the proper place.
That's what I think. But people are like, how come like Steve isn't in trouble for like messing with time?
Wait, but where did he return the Tesseract to?
I think the 70s where they got it in that the military base.
Loki took it, so they went back even further. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think because he put everything back where it was supposed to be, I don't think he altered the timeline.
Okay.
And I think, that's my assumption. But who knows? Maybe he did, and maybe he's there too, and maybe they zapped him into goo. Who knows?
Oh no, I want a better ending for Steve Rogers, but
and maybe now in Falcon Winter Soldier, when they say he's on the moon, maybe he's actually on the moon like Stan Lee with those 3 timekeepers.
Maybe. Did we just crack the code?
We just rewrote the whole ending, and Marvel's gonna see it and be like, "Shit, we got to do that." Hey, Chris Evans, can you like start dieting and get on set right now? Not that he needs to diet; it's just they have insane diets. They eat only grilled chicken and lettuce with no dressing for like months. I'm like,
what kind of life is that?
Yeah, I mean, like Kumail. I'm like, Kumail, you're not supposed to be like that, but who knows? I mean, hey, I'm so excited to see him in Eternals, but I'm like, how do you look like that now? I was like, I remember watching you in The Big Sick and being like, I can relate, and then I'm like, oh, great, now you can beat me up.
Yeah. Good for him though. I'm happy for him.
Good for him. Good for all of them. I mean, I don't think there's any MCU actor who's like out of shape, but like, why not? Like, why do they all need to be in shape? Who cares? But I get it.
Russell wasn't in shape, but you didn't like Russell.
Yeah, and it sucks because he's the prime example of like you can look however you want, but again, it's like, well, then don't write him to be an obnoxious little fuck. Anyway,
sure.
We're not talking about X-Men. We're talking about Loki. Anything else about Loki before we kind of like put it to bed for a week? Because the thing is, it's coming out on Wednesdays, so like we are trying to podcast earlier in the week, closer to when we first watched the episode, even though you will be getting it 2 days before the next one. It's just the way it works. You know, the name is Marvel-ous Movie Mondays, and we want to kind of keep it on Mondays. So like, it's already been 5 days since you've watched this episode, but who cares? You know, it's still good to have discourse, and I bet nobody saw that timekeeper thing with Guardians of the Galaxy 2 yet. So we're still breaking ground, people. So any last thing about Loki, Kels? Anything?
No, I'm just excited for what's to come.
Yeah, I am too. I think this sets up a lot of good stuff, even though it was so exposition heavy. I think in the context of everything else, it'll be better. I think this is an episode where it's like, you got to eat your vegetables before you get to dessert. And this is just a buffet of carrots right now, which is like the best vegetable, but like you still got to eat them, and we still want dessert. But do you not like carrots?
The best vegetable?
I jumped the gun on that. It's asparagus.
Asparagus is the best vegetable?
I'm digging myself even deeper, right? Well, I don't know. I talked to my roommates about it yesterday about like Brussels sprouts, and like, yeah, it's interesting because there are a lot of good vegetables. I'm a Brussels sprouts fan.
Brussels sprouts are my number one.
They're your number one?
They're my number one. Right after Brussels sprouts, broccoli.
Okay, yeah, broccoli is like the staple, but I feel like I'm bored about broccoli by now. I'm like,
no, I can always go for some good broccoli and like garlic and oil.
But then it's like, what's the point of having it as a vegetable if you're just gonna cover it in other shit? But like, I agree, I love that. But like, if you're just eating a vegetable raw, like, are you gonna go for like, or not raw, but like just regular vegetable?
Well, like, I only eat like a lot of vegetables cooked. The only vegetable that I'm eating raw is carrots.
Exactly. That's why I said this is a buffet of carrots. See, it's all full circle.
So uncooked carrots. It's just.
Well, okay. This series is definitely cooked, but.
Okay. So the carrots are at least cooked. The carrots that they're giving us at the buffet.
Honestly, I like raw carrots better though. Maybe like raw carrots dipped in ranch. Like we're still dipping them in ranch.
Oh, okay.
But like we're still waiting for dessert. You know, we still want the carrot cake. And right now we just got the carrots dipped in ranch. You know, it's not just a carrot. It's not Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 1. We're just like, carrot, eat it. It's like carrot, we're dipping in the ranch, and then we'll make a carrot cake.
All right. I think people are getting tired of this vegetable
I don't think they are. Anyway, we're going to have a lot more fun just like bantering because like Loki, it's fun and weird and we like it. So thank you guys so much for listening. Let's plug ourselves. Kelsey, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick. You can find me on TikTok at Cause13, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which I'm getting back into, I promise, Cause Productions.
Anything you can tease for either your YouTube or your TikTok? I know you said you made a Loki TikTok.
I made a Loki TikTok. It was about Mephisto, so I'm glad you brought him up.
Oh, God.
No, it's not serious. It's a joke. I don't think Mephisto is a part of Loki. I'm making fun of people who might actually think.
If he shows up in a movie, I'm booing.
Because honestly, as soon as I saw that devil, the stained glass devil, my mind was like, oh my God, is it Mephisto? I'm not going to lie. That's the first place my mind went.
We all thought it. That's your minute of Mephisto talk. No more.
All right. Where can they find you, Dill?
Oh, they can find me at Dylan_Randazzo on Twitter. I'm trying to stay off of it on Wednesdays because of this show. But you can find me on Thursday through Tuesday there for sure. At Dylan Randazzo 417 on TikTok. I've been slacking on TikTok, Megan, just because I don't have any fucking time. But, we'll find time. Loki's finding a whole new parallel universe of time. Maybe there's another Dylan in another time dimension that has his TikTok just like blowing up with followers. Who knows? And then, of course, the Dill Pickle Movie Network on YouTube. If you are listening on audio, thank you so much. Give us a review. 5 stars is preferred. But, if you're in some alternate timeline where you want to be a downer and give us 1 star, fine. As long as you're reviewing us, giving us some sort of input, we love to hear it. And comment below if you are on YouTube. Give us a comment. Let us know how you like the show. Like it. Share it, subscribe it, like the tweets where I do share it on my Twitter when I'm on Twitter, when I'm avoiding Loki talk. Anything you can do to help the channel grow is greatly appreciated. We're so close to getting it monetized audio-wise. We're monetized, but actually getting good monetization for this podcast. And then, that YouTube algorithm, there's still a little way to go to get monetized, but we're inching along. So thank you guys so much for listening and for watching and for just being such a great support system to this podcast. We have fun doing it, and we are going to keep doing it as long as there is Marvel to talk about, which will be till the end of time. Thank you so much, Kels, for joining. Any last words?
No.